And bloody conflict continues relentlessly for the third day today. Over the last 2 days, Hamas has carried out a massive rocket barrage and Israel has responded with airstrikes on Gaza. Overnight, Israel claims to have struck at least 500 Hamas targets. As both continue firing rockets at each other, the bodies have been piling up. Over 1,100 children have been killed in the violent war in the last 3 days alone. Over 700 have died in Israel and about 400 in Gaza, as per reports. Besides, over 100,000 people have been displaced in Gaza, while Hamas claims it is holding more than 100 Israelis hostage. Nations worldwide have been scrambling to find citizens who may have been killed or taken hostage when militants from Gaza surged across into the Israeli border. Now, the lists of missing people have flooded social media. It's believed that Hamas has taken over 133 people hostage, many of whom are foreigners. Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us first and foremost is Aviva Klompas, who's a former advisor and speechwriter for Israel's delegation to the United Nations. We also have with us Martin Sherman, director of the Israel Institute for Strategic Studies, Colonel retired Dr. Ralph George Buchnick-Chen, senior researcher at the Begin Sarat Institute for Strategic Studies at the Bar Ilan University, is also with us. Let me begin with you first and foremost, Aviva Klompas, and let me begin by asking you, of course, it's been an unprecedented attack on Israel. What are we expecting to see over the next few days? Because many believe that Israel is going to launch further strikes, attacks. Of course, we have seen a huge amount of destruction in Gaza, but really in terms of what we are looking at over the next few days, what can you tell us in terms of what we can expect?
Thank you, sir, for your question and for having me on. What we are seeing really is perhaps the darkest day in Israel's history. The casualties, the sheer brutality and barbarism of the crimes committed by Hamas are unlike anything that Israel has seen in its history. I can see that you're sharing some of the images and stories, but we are seeing photographs and videos of elderly people being gunned down in the streets, of entire families murdered in cold blood in their home, of mothers clinging to their babies, taken hostage, of elderly being taken, ripped from nursing homes and held hostage in Gaza. The crimes that Hamas have committed have crossed the line. There have been, since Hamas took over the Gaza Strip 15 years ago, they have committed countless crimes in firing thousands of rockets. But this is something else altogether, and we can expect that Israel cannot tolerate this level of violence and savagery against its citizens. It is going to take severe action to try to return the 130 individuals, most of whom are civilians, including babies, children, mothers, and the elderly, the ill, to Israel, and to ensure that the network that was able to infiltrate Israel and murder 700 people is dismantled.
Right. And what are we looking at in terms of how the international community is looking at it? Because certainly, of course, there are being countries, everyone has unequivocally condemned the attack. But there are others saying that whether this kind of violence that, that is being engaged in by Israel, certainly, of course, they are going to avenge this attack. But many are saying that it's also going to lead to a huge humanitarian crisis across the border in Gaza.
So I wish it was every country. Many countries, most Western countries have stepped forward, including India, in support of Israel, and it is heartening. And for the countries that have condemnations or the countries that switch their positions in the coming days as disturbing scenes emerge, I want to remind them, aim your accusations and your condemnations at Hamas. Hamas is an internationally recognized terrorist organization. It is holding the entire population of Palestinians in Gaza hostage. It is the one using these people as human shields by using mosques, schools, the hospitals, and other basic infrastructure, civilian neighborhoods as a launching pad to fire their rockets, to hide terror tunnels, to hold hostages. That makes them legitimate military targets. Hamas's actions have crossed a line. Every person of decency, every person with any moral center understands that it is Hamas that must be held accountable for the crimes.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And in fact, as far as the hostage crisis is concerned as well, Aviva, if you could share with us, what really is Israel's strategy in terms of rescuing the hostages, because there are reports coming in of young children, of elderly, of soldiers, in fact, also amongst those who've been abducted. So over 100 people, we understand, have been taken hostage. What really are we hearing about how that is expected to be resolved by Israel?
I think it's too early to say. I think the full scope of what has occurred in terms of who is kidnapped and who is being held hostage isn't yet fully known. I have heard about incidents of some of the hostages being treated with absolute brutality and mutilated. So I think assessments need to be done in terms of who are still alive, who exactly has been taken. And then I have no doubt that there will be international partners that will be called upon. And Israel itself will have to think about how it's going to ensure that as many as possible are returned safely home.
Right. And also,